Hey, folks, I wanted to take a moment to welcome Dixon's Fixins to the Talking About Food family. As a private chef, I know how much time you spend in grocery stores, and we've all heard the saying, time is money. That's why at Dixon's Fixins, they deliver all your beef, chicken, pork, and seafood needs at prices that fit the average family's budget. This family-owned business is committed to providing the best USDA choice and prime steak, open-range farms chicken, butcher-certified pork, and wild-caught seafood. All their products are all natural, hormone-free, with no byproducts or steroids. They treat every family they serve as if it were their own. So sit back, relax, and let Dixon's Fixins bring the best quality food right to your door, garage, or place of business, all while cutting your grocery bills in half. Check them out today at DixonsFixins.com. That's Dixon's Fixins, bringing quality food into your home and bringing your family back to the table. Hello, Grand Strand. This is Richard Florzak, the private chef to the stars, and welcome back to Talking About Food. Remember, it's the only show on the Grand Strand that does food commentary, strictly topics about food. I love talking to local chefs, local food business owners. I just love talking about food. I'll tell you what I do get tired of, though. I get tired of talking about the hottest restaurants in the area, you know, the new ones that have opened up that everybody is flocking to. I mean, it's a cool thing. Yeah, I get it, but it just seems like everybody does that. What really gets to me, to the heart of food, is the people behind the scenes. I was just having a conversation off air with my next guest about how spending 40 years in food mecca like Los Angeles, I've seen everything food-wise, styles come and go. New ones pop in. What always got into my blood was the people behind the scenes. And I'm at a business in Aynor. It's called Palmetto Farms. I'm sitting here with the owner, David Dorman. David, welcome to Talking About Food.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. You have been, or your family has been, in this business, Palmetto Farms, for how long?
Roughly since 1934, less than 3 miles from where we're located right now on the farm that I live on.
Is that right?
That's correct.
And who started it?
My granddad, James Graham.
Yeah.
My mom's father.
Yeah. And your product is pretty much strictly grits, right?
Well, grits and cornmeal.
Cornmeal.
I can grind cornmeal without grinding grits, but I can't grind grits without making cornmeal. So
yeah, I'm going to ask you about that in a second. One of the things that jumped out at me from your website, and it's one of the reasons why I'm here, is it said you have a focus to make one specialty product real good grits.
that's it.
I love that. I mean, so many businesses, especially businesses that have been in business as long as you have branched off. You know, if you think you've been, what is that, 75 years about? Maybe more than that?
More, I think, yes.
More than that. By this time, you'd be serving smoothies, at the same time. But you stuck to that focus of grits and cornmeal. If you can just give us a little family background of how it started and how you ended up where you are today.
Yeah, so in the early 1930s, my grandfather, James Graham, before they even had electricity in this part of the world, actually used a tractor to drive a stone burr grist mill, not grits mill, a grist mill.
What's the difference?
G-R-I-S-T. There is no difference.
Okay.
It was just, people call it that.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, that's cool.
The grist is actually what you put in the mill. So anyway.
Okay. All right.
So
got it.
It could have been grinding wheat or rye or corn or
Yeah.
whatever. So my granddad, he started grinding grits and cornmeal for like his neighbors.
Yeah.
Back then it was a major food source for people, and most people grew stuff that they ate on their farm. They maybe had animals, stuff like that. So back then, years back when my parents were young, they lived large families on small farms. They weren't rich, and they ate.
They didn't have a lot of money.
They didn't have a lot of money, so they ate what they grew on the farm.
Right.
And the animals they raised, they ate that stuff. Stuff that they ate is like people today kind of would shy away from it, but some of it becomes like trendy. And so one of those things that's trendy anywhere in South Carolina, but especially along the coast, would be shrimp and grits.
Yeah.
But what most people don't understand is that's what poor fishermen ate. That's what they had.
Yeah.
But today, it's a high dollar thing you get at a restaurant, and I'm pretty sure it was nothing like the original shrimp and grits.
Right. Yeah. No, I'll bet it wasn't. Yeah. No, and that's a great point, because I see that on menus a lot, that there are things that most of the public, I'm talking about food items, most of the public weren't aware of that become trendy, just like you were just saying. And then it becomes this big wave of, I've seen it already a couple of times. I won't get into details about it, but I can see how chefs will, go back into their family's history, to look for different ingredients, different styles and stuff. So what you said just made perfect sense.
But somebody had to grind the cornmeal and grits and stuff like that. So anyway, that's what my granddad did.
Yeah.
And so he did that his whole life. Basically, he was he died about 20 years ago, and so when he passed away, I took over. But while he was alive, if you wanted his product, you had to come to the farm to get it.
Wow!
And he never put it in stores or anything like that. And I remember as a kid helping him bag these paper bags. And anyway, that's what he did. When he passed away, I took over. I created. I was actually a graphic artist. I created the logos, the retail packaging, and started wholesale accounts.
Yeah.
And on day one, it was David. And I did every single job, from making the bag, doing the artwork for the bag, making the bag, filling the bag, putting it in little totes and carrying it to Charleston. And I just remember going across the Cooper River Bridge, going into Charleston, and the wind was really bad, and it actually blew the lids off the totes. Anyway,
Wow.
I was glad it wasn't raining.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah, and that's how you know, because you were born in and raised in Charleston, right?
I was born and raised in, actually, the little town was called Hanahan. It was right outside of North Charleston. And like I was saying earlier, my parents ended up there because in Horry County, in a lot of places, the farms are small and families are large, and not everybody could stay on the farm.
Yeah.
So most of my mom and most of her siblings ended up there. So I was born and raised there. I stayed till my mom and dad actually moved back to Horry County to manage a restaurant, and I was 18 years old.
Yeah. So when you took over, was it then you would start to find the Palmetto Farms grits in grocery stores and other stores? Was it before that? No,
it was that I was the one that kind of started that. We didn't actually start with grocery stores. Mostly I would go to Charleston. One of my first customers were vendors that were actually in the market in downtown Charleston. And the cool part about that was basically for years in a row, Charleston was selected as the top food destination in the world.
Yeah.
And people literally came from all over the world. But if you came to Charleston, you went to the market downtown Charleston.
I see. Okay.
And so I had like 4 vendors in there, and every week I would bring a load of grits to there. The cool part was that everybody wanted something to take home. Our packaging was kind of unique, looked nice, so people would grab it because it looked cool. It was going to be a good gift for Aunt Susie that kept their cat while they were on vacation.
Right.
So they would grab that and they would take home, and then all of a sudden they'd open it and eat it, and they'd go like, "Wow, these are like pretty good grits." The problem is, none of the vendors in Charleston in the market had any website stuff, so you couldn't order it from them.
Oh, okay.
But we were on. We had a website, and we began to sell it online like that. But we were selling it at more like mom and pop shops and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not really grocery stores, because it's kind of tough getting into grocery stores.
Well, I remember it's going to be just about 4 years now, when I decided, or my wife and I decided, that we may want to live in this area, and we flew here from Los Angeles. And we both just fell in love with the area just immediately. And, with a chef's background, I thought to myself, I've got to know this food, You'd only learn so much in culinary school. They can't teach you everything. I mean, there's regions, throughout the United States and, of course, throughout the world that are changing from town to town. And I can remember on the plane ride going back to Los Angeles, I had picked up a bunch of different magazines, and I read this article. It was about grits, and it was about classic Southern grits. And it may even have been like the rating of a number of different local or certainly regional grits. And the article that I was reading that was saying, if you're going to get interested in Southern cooking, the grits to buy are Palmetto Farms. I remember, and it stuck in my head. And it was at the airport that I saw a bag.
Cool.
And I bought it right away, and it is terrific. What separates Palmetto Farm grits from the others, some of the other brands?
Well, it actually depends a lot on the ingredients, which is corn. You can buy really good corn, and you can buy okay corn.
Right.
Which I only buy the best corn you can buy.
Right.
Yeah. And
where does that come from?
Typically, we want to get corn from a place that doesn't have a real long growing season. All of the places we get corn right now are in Indiana and Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
And it's simply because it is so hot and the bug load is so high in South Carolina that it just stresses the corn,
mm-hmm.
and the result is corn that is not good.
And is that the reason why you want a short season?
Well, the short season part is you never get that huge bug load.
Uh-huh.
The insect stress, it actually stresses the plant, and it reduces the quality of the corn. But like, for instance, in South Carolina, it's April, the first part of April. Farmers have already started planting corn, and they will actually harvest this corn they'll start harvesting in August. Well, in August, the corn will not be dry. It'll only be down to 20% moisture. If they cut it and put it in a bin, it would literally explode.
Oh, really?
It wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So what they do is they cut it. A lot of times, I think it's because they try to get the corn cut before hurricane season.
Okay.
Because if a hurricane comes in here, you're not going to have any corn.
Right.
So what they do is they cut it and they run it through a dryer. And when they run corn through a dryer, it cracks. It dries it so fast that it actually cracks every single kernel of corn and exposes the inside of the corn, which is the nutritious part, the part that's nutritious, and the taste, the texture, the whole thing is exposed to oxygen. Mm-hmm. And from that point, it starts to go downhill. Yeah. It degrades, in other words, until it's not really any benefit to it.
Yeah. It wouldn't be considered high quality at that point.
No.
So, and how do you make sure that you're not getting kernels like that?
Well, number one, I can look at it and pretty much tell, but I can also test the moisture in it and everything. But I know that the corn that we buy is actually field dried, and it comes from places, and that's part of the season, the shorter season. So this corn is field dried. It hangs in the field until it's dry. And in these places, the farmers that do it for us, that corn has actually probably had frost on it and maybe even snow. Mm-hmm. And so we know it's dry. Yeah. And so it's the good stuff.
That's fascinating. Have you ever turned batches away?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Tell everybody, what is your day like? A typical day, if there is such a thing.
Well, some are more typical than others, but typically on a day when I'm grinding, I'll roll in pretty early because I like to get it done as quick as I can.
What's early?
6 or 7 o'clock, and I have to get all the machines and stuff ready. And if I didn't do it beforehand, the corn we buy comes in 2,000-pound bags, and I just have to put one. I got a lift that picks the big bag up, and I dump it into a hopper that feeds the mill.
Yeah.
And I get everything set up, and I just hit the button. Basically, it's an automatic thing. I just have to keep an eye on things, make sure everything is working like it's supposed to. The corn goes in the big hopper, and basically, as it's coming off, I actually dump it into a smaller container to move to the next room. Just large barrels, and I just keep it going like that. Typically, I can grind in the morning, like before noon, I can grind like 4,000 pounds of grits, and if I was doing it all day, I could grind 8,000 to 10,000 pounds.
Does that compute to like 8,000 to 10,000 bags?
Our bags typically are 2 pound bags.
2 pounds.
Yeah,
so half of that, but still that's thousands.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's lots of bags of grits. And
wow.
we ship out a bunch.
Yeah. And you have family helping you?
Yes. I have my 2 sons, Andrew and Devin, work with me. They actually are more of the business end of it. I'm more of the hands-on technical guy.
Do they do the social media part of it?
They have in the past. I actually did the original website myself, but
oh, that's right.
But that was a long time ago.
Yeah,
a long time ago.
Yeah. White versus yellow. I mean, it's a subject as sensitive as the Hatfields and the McCoys. Do you have a preference, and what are the differences?
Well, I will start with my preference. I guess my preference is based on growing up. We only had yellow grits because we grew yellow corn. And so that's kind of a thing. That's kind of a South Carolina thing, and I just recently learned it's also kind of a Texas thing. We actually ship grits to a grocery store chain in Texas.
So let me ask you something then, just to clarify, that traditionally South Carolina is more yellow.
Yes.
Yellow grits.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and but so is Texas. I found that out because we have a grocery store chain out there. We ship directly to them, quite a few grits, and in Texas they only buy the yellow grits. And I think yellow grits are actually harder to find in the grocery stores.
What do you attribute that to?
I think people just have their preferences, and I can't really explain why they do. The only thing I think is kind of funny to me is, all right, so if the people that like white grits, and I like them, they're good. I mean, I would eat either one, but the people that like white grits always want yellow cornmeal, and that's not the way it works.
Yeah,
see, because when you grind both at the same time, so if I'm grinding white corn, I get white grits and white cornmeal, and if I'm grinding yellow corn, I get yellow grits and yellow cornmeal. But so it's kind of weird.
And the grinding aspect of it, is that what then eventually differentiates from grits to cornmeal? Is it just the grind?
It's the grind, but mills are not. They don't chop things into specific size, so you end up with a range of size particles. So the cornmeal is just the finer of the grind, the finer parts of the grind.
Gotcha.
We actually use screens to separate it, and we have. The screens create hard lines, which it's in or it's out. This is grits or this is cornmeal.
Oh, so the screen separates
yes.
it. That's phenomenal. That is great. Would you say the different colors constitute different styles of dishes, or
not in my experience?
Not in your. White isn't going to. People aren't going to gravitate towards white for, this particular dish.
I think either one works, and they work exactly the same. There's virtually no difference in the corn or the corn grits,
right?
Other than the color.
Yeah, and
the color. The only difference is the color in yellow grits is beta carotene. That's what makes it yellow.
Yeah.
The same as tomatoes or sweet potatoes. Or
Would you say it's better for you? Could you?
I would say it definitely is. Now, is it going to change your life? I can't say that.
Yeah, but
there is some benefits to it. But there are certain things in corn that you don't get in everything that you eat. But the oils that are in there are where that lives and comes from.
The yellow.
Yeah. No, in
either one. Okay. Yeah.
But corn, it's technically called the germ. It's called the germ, which sounds kind of weird, but but it's actually this little white section in the middle of the corn seed is where all of the oil is in that kernel.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest part of it is carbohydrate, and then the heart is where all the oils are. Most manufacturers, and I can't say all the stone ground folks, but most of the manufacturers degerminate the corn. They don't want that oil in there because what they're really looking for is shelf life. I don't care about shelf life.
Wow.
I care about the quality, the nutrition, the flavor, the texture. That's what I care about.
Yeah. That is absolutely fascinating. Do you cook?
I'm not a cook, but I do cook grits.
Yeah, and what about your wife? Does she cook?
She cooks all of our meals, and yes.
Yeah. Are you tired of grits?
No, I never get tired of it. We have it we don't typically eat breakfast at my house, but we eat supper at the house, and a couple times a week we'll have grits for supper. So yeah. And I mean, our kids call it breakfast for supper.
Yeah. I had, right before I moved here, a wood-fired pizzeria. Pizza is my favorite food on the planet, and people would often ask me the question I just asked you, and do you eat it? And I would say absolutely every single day.
I
just loved it so much. What's your favorite grits recipe? I'm sure there's not one, or maybe there is.
we have a number of different ones because I'm actually just a scrambled eggs and grits kind of guy. I mean, you can give me that on a plate and I'll be just as happy as anything.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, like on the back of our bag is a little small shrimp and grits recipe. And it was actually my family's recipe, my grandmother.
Wow.
But it's not like go to a restaurant kind of shrimp and grits. It's like home cooking shrimp and grits. So it's super simple, super fast, and it tastes
super
wonderful.
Good.
It's really, really good.
Wow.
And of course you can use like frozen shrimp. They're okay. But if you can catch the local shrimp from Murrells Inlet or Georgetown or McClellanville, it's even better.
Wow. You cover the whole spectrum. Decades in business, a true family run place from grandfather to grandson. Now he's got his sons helping him. This is Palmetto Farms, and David Dorman is my guest. Absolutely fascinating stuff. Anything else you want to talk about?
Well, we make real good grits. That's kind of our saying, our
right. And
saying thing. Yeah.
That is obvious. The heart and soul that goes into this business is unmatched as far as I know. So if you're listening and you're perusing the grits section, don't pass up Palmetto Farms. I didn't. It's one of the reasons why I moved to South Carolina. David Dorman of Palmetto Farms, thanks so much for joining us on Talking About Food. An absolute gem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. How interesting was David Dorman, owner of Palmetto Farms Grits. Found out afterwards, took me on a tour. It was so fascinating. You know those bags that Palmetto Grits comes in? They're all hand-stitched. It's unbelievable. They have sewing machines set up there because the packaging is so cool and they're so proud of their product, and they should be. I also found out there was a chef in a Four Seasons hotel restaurant that had been using the same brand of grits for the longest time. And then somebody had given him a bag of Palmetto grits, and immediately he called David Dorman directly at Palmetto Farms and said, I want to get your grits here in D.C. I mean, that's, can't argue with that. That's a terrific product. And equally as interesting is the guest who's in my studio right now. He's been in here before. His name's Peter Gerace. He is the owner of Inlet Culinary Garden at 5071 17 Bypass South. He was in here on one of the earlier episodes where we talked about his business, Inlet culinary garden and all the different herbs and spices and everything else that he has. He's a horticulturist. He has a foraging permit for mushrooms. He's an environmental scientist, and he's a plant nursery owner and grower, and he also does landscaping. But here's the one that just tips the scales. He harvests soft-shell crabs. Peter Gerace, welcome back to Talking About Food.
Thank you very much. It sounds it sounds like a lot.
Well, it makes me tired just talking about it. I mean, you've been so kind about getting back to me because I started hitting you up about a week ago, and I mean, nobody knows better than me what it's like to own a business, let alone sounds like you own 10 of them.
It's a crazy time of the year right now. For sure.
But you've been so gracious to put 15 minutes aside to come in. Try to give the listeners some sort of idea of how this all happens.
So the soft shell crabs, this time of year, the majority of the soft shell crabs are females that are coming in from the ocean.
And this is typically the season for soft shell crabs.
Yes, there's about a 2 to 4 week period, depending on how rough the winter is. And we've had a pretty rough winter,
I'll say.
And nobody can really dictate what a crab is going to do.
Yeah.
So crabs come in when the water temperature reaches about 65 to 68 degrees, and the female crabs are looking for male crabs to mate with. So the commercial crabbers bait their peeler crab traps with a male crab. And then the male crab puts out pheromones, and then the female crabs go out in search of a male and go into the traps. So they catch peeler crabs, and then I purchase peeler crabs from commercial guys and then put them in my tanks and then basically sit there and twiddle my thumbs until they start popping out. And then, there's different levels of a peeler crab. There's a clear liner, which is going to shed in about a week. And there's a pink liner, which is going to shed out in about 5 days, orange liner about 3 days, and a red liner is going to shed out in the next day or two. So ideally, you would want to get the most red line crabs as possible, the ones that are going to stay in your tanks the least amount of time and shed.
And that is for the tenderness of the crab once you extract it, right?
Well, they're all going to shed, but it's just a matter of like the ones that have a red line on their fin,
right,
are going to shed the soonest.
I see.
So ideally, you want to have crabs that are mostly red lining in your tank, so they all shed at the same time, and you get them out, and you get them in the market, and you're done.
And when you say, and I know this for a fact because I've been bugging you to come on, you're monitoring these things.
It's 24/7.
24/7.
Luckily, I have a lot of help. Luckily, last year was different because it was an earlier season, so the landscaping stuff was a little bit later. Yeah. So I was able to kind of sit around and push landscaping stuff back because it was in the 40s still. This year, it's not like that. So I have friends coming over, taking shifts during the day, and my son's staying up till midnight. It's just, you got to do it.
Yeah, it's nonstop. It's nonstop. Like you said, it's 24/7.
You turn your back on them for 1 minute, and their buddies are just eating. Like one will start busting, and then, when I say busting, they start actually molting. And if they aren't taken out of that tank and put into an isolation chamber, then they'll get eaten.
Yeah, so that's why you're monitoring them. Yeah, it's so funny because I always thought that the reason why you get them out so quickly is back to what I had said earlier, that they are then the most tender, but you're getting them out so that they don't get eaten.
So I like to put them into an isolation tank or an isolation bin that has a bunch of holes in it, so water can come in and out, but other crabs can't get to them. And then once they shed, the ideal situation is to let them sit in that tank for about 15 minutes and let them sort of cycle water through their body.
Why?
They'll increase in size significantly, and they'll plump out.
Right.
If you take them out immediately, they're like a limp noodle,
right,
and they're just like a slug. But after they sit there for just about 15 minutes, they get a lot more firmness to them. They're still very soft. You have about an hour from the time they shed to the time that they actually have to be taken out of the water and put in a box with a wet paper towel on them.
And that's how they're stored?
Yes, in the refrigerator, at as high as the refrigerator will go.
What do you mean is high?
High as in not cold, not super cold, more like around 55, 60.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And how long will they last like that?
A couple days.
Couple days.
Few days. Yep.
Right.
Oh,
So
yeah. A crab can last out of water for a long time. It's just they can't last in water that is of bad water quality for very long.
I see. Yeah. How did you get into this?
Growing up in Maryland, I used to volunteer at places that did this. And as a kid, I just sort of picked it up, and I came from a crabbing background and worked for different seafood restaurants that were also seafood markets.
Yeah.
And just sort of stuck.
Yeah. And so how did you start this here? I mean, you have to be able to get these specific crabs. Shedders, is that what you called them before?
Peelers.
Sorry. Peelers. Special license you have to have in order to buy from commercial?
I have a commercial crabbing license, even though I don't actually set traps. And I have a wholesale dealer permit, and I have there's a third one. It's a peeler permit.
With all the different labels you have and permits and licenses, you keep South Carolina running.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Just on your
Yes, I get lots of emails from DNR on a routine basis.
Oh, is that right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So now you have this business at this time of the year. How do restaurants know of you? How do they know to come to you?
100% word of mouth.
Is that
It's
right?
100% word of mouth. If I were to advertise, there's no way I'd be able to keep crabs in stock. I mean, I've been through about 2,000 crabs this season, and they have all gone to restaurant owners that I am very good friends with that know that I'm getting them.
You're doing it.
Yeah, because
Right.
there's just no way I'd be able to keep up.
Are there other people like you that are supplying the area?
There are, but there's nobody that has a closed system the way I have it. Like,
What does that mean?
So I have an open system site takes water from the creek,
Yeah.
and you're up to the whims of nature and the temperature of the creek water, and there's a lot of variance involved. In my system, I make my own water with well water and instant ocean, and I make the salinity a certain level, and I'm filtering it through a massive filtration system that has literally hundreds of miles of surface area for the good bacteria to nitrify the bacteria, or the ammonia and nitrites and nitrates. So that's what's different between what I do and what somebody that just has like a couple tanks on the creek, just sucking water in and
Right.
running it through their crab tanks.
Yeah.
Like, I'm making the water. So I was able to purchase my peeler crabs from the Ace Basin area, which is several weeks ahead of us in time. So I had I had peeler crabs 2 weeks ago, whereas in Georgetown, they're just showing up now.
Are your crabs better than the other? Before you answer that, after your explanation of how you operate your tanks, we can now add chemist to your list of labels there. Are yours better than the other people that supply? Have you
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're the best in the land.
Yeah, I knew that because you're the kind of people that I like to have on the show, the best of the best. Have you tried other people's soft shell crab?
Yes.
And you can tell the difference?
I could tell the difference.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I could definitely tell the difference. It could be that my emotional attachment and the blood, sweat, and tears that I've put into it. But I could definitely tell.
Yeah.
I could definitely tell. They are clean. They're very clean. The water is crystal clear.
Yeah.
So for instance, with an open system, let's say that's a real windy day and it's real choppy out. They're sucking water in out of the creek and it's muddy. My water is clear all the time, crystal clear.
I mean, it has to affect the flavor of the crab.
I mean, they're very clean. They're very clean crabs.
Yeah.
For sure.
Once a crab loses its shell or sheds its shell, how long does it take before that shell starts getting hard again?
You've got about an hour before it starts to harden up.
Wow.
Ideally, the first 30 minutes is when you want to take them out before it starts to get a little papery. Then after an hour, within the next 2 hours, they call it a paper shell. And then after about 3 or 4 hours, it becomes more like a leathery shell.
Yeah.
But it won't actually harden up like a hard crab shell for at least 10, 12 hours.
So you need, the best case scenario is you need that crab out within 30 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And can you tell yourself if you were at a restaurant and somebody served you a soft shell crab that it was at that papery stage?
Absolutely. You can tell. It tastes
Just
like
love
it would just taste like you're eating a piece of paper on top of your crab.
Nothing excites me more than talking to somebody who's an absolute expert at what they do. Do you have favorite recipes? If you're going to take a soft shell crab and prepare it for somebody who's never had it before, how would you do it?
I just like the old fashioned pan fried with lightly egg wash and then a light breading of just whatever flour and seasoned flour that you would use.
Yeah.
Salt, pepper, add a little Old Bay to it because you got to put Old Bay or J.O.
Yeah.
J.O. is very popular.
In Maryland, isn't it?
It's a Maryland thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's J.O. and Old Bay are definitely.
Well, I was crabbing one time in Maryland, and they at the place that I went to, they would steam them for you afterwards. And I had mentioned about them putting the Old Bay on it, and they were furious with me. We don't use Old Bay
These
here.
J.O.
J.O. Yeah.
Yeah, J.O.'s good. It's
Yeah.
really good.
So anyway, so you lightly flour it, little bit of J.O. or
mostly J.O. and then seasoned flour and egg wash, and then in a pan with about a tablespoon of butter,
with butter.
hot pan.
Yep.
And just don't burn the butter, and then
Right.
two sides, flip it.
And how do you serve it?
I love a sandwich. I
Yeah.
love a sandwich with mayonnaise and tomato and
Yeah.
lettuce, and that's it. Like and cheap bread, like cheap chewy bread,
Yeah.
nothing fancy.
No.
Don't toast it. Don't you dare toast that bread. It's just
Love
different.
this.
It's just different.
It's so funny because I wanted you on here for a number of reasons. The obvious one is to explain to the listeners how this all comes about. You know, perusing through Facebook and seeing, you know, the unending pictures of, you know, restaurant photos, you know, and most recently a lot of soft shell crab. I look at some of the presentations and I think to myself, it's my own personal opinion, what are you doing? And then I scroll a little further. This happened yesterday. I stop on a classic way to serve soft shell crab, which is exactly what you just explained.
It's so good. It's
And
just,
said,
I mean,
yeah.
but like some of my friends that are doing this, that are purchasing crabs from me and cooking them in their restaurants, and they're making them fancy. I mean, people like them like that too. And there's another whole method of like, I don't even know what it's called. I guess it's just dipping it in liquid breading, like if you were to get like cod.
Yeah, like a batter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a batter, exactly. And it creates more of a shell
Yeah.
on the crab. So it's in there,
Yeah.
but you're going through a bunch of batter breading
get
to get
yeah,
to it.
To get
I
to
really
the-
just
yeah.
like a light breading, pan fried,
Yeah.
butter, Wonder Bread,
Yeah.
lettuce, tomato, mayo, little salt, pepper, a little
Yeah.
J.O. on it.
That's me. I love that.
It's simple, like the most simplest thing.
Right. So you do often see it with chefs trying to fancy fine
Right.
dining
Yep. I try to tell.
sauces, ingredients you've never heard of.
But none of them have had any issue selling these crabs or getting them off the menu. Like
Yeah.
they're just, it's a limited supply. And I mean, it is the kickoff of spring. Like there's something about a soft shell crab that means like spring is here, spring is sprung. It's soft shell crab time. I got to eat one.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's $20 or $50.
Yeah.
I'm eating a soft shell crab.
Are you allowed to mention some of the places that you sell to soft shell?
Sure. Neil's Creek House and Rustic Table and Bistro 217 have tremendously supported me and probably purchased at least 80% of my crab. And then locals have also, just lots of people have just coming to the door.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. People
Yeah.
are just, they know I have them. They're just coming to get them.
Yeah, the other thing I like about this particular item is it you just mentioned 217, but also I'll see, you know, sort of mom and pop places serving it too. And I like that.
Yep. Neil's Creek House has done a tremendous job selling them, and they're selling them. They went a little fancy. I don't know exactly what they were doing with it, but it was a little different. But they were also offering a sandwich.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm bringing in soft shell crabs. I've eaten soft shell crabs like 3 nights the last 4 days.
No complaints, though.
None.
Yeah. Zach Baker, owner of Neil's Creek House, was on a couple of weeks ago, and I wish that I had mentioned this because I like his approach to food. He'll do some really standard fare, but with a little twist to it, which always makes it interesting.
Yeah, he had a really good dish going, and he was selling 2 of them at a time for a dinner plate. But honestly, you can't beat the sandwich. It's just.
I agree. Peter Gerace, once again, thank you so much for coming back. I mean, it's obvious how busy you are. I'm sure the listeners are thrilled with your explanation of how soft-shell crabs are harvested, prepared, and gotten ready for different restaurants that serve them. How much longer will the season last? I'm debating on getting another round of crabs. My son luckily has about 10 days off from school coming up. Put him to work.
That would be a very convenient time for him to just walk the tanks and let me sleep. Catch up on sleep. Sleep deprivation is definitely a thing. Thinking about next week.
Yeah. So if you were to acquire another batch that you can start staying up 24 hours a day, how long would that continue?
Ideally, less than 6 days.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
A batch.
They're really not going to do anything the first couple of days.
Yeah.
And then on day 3, it just starts, and then you just can't leave.
Yeah. So another batch will take you another 5 days worth of supplying soft shell crab, but I'm assuming after that it's over.
It all depends on the weather.
Ah, wow.
It's on the water temperature and the weather. And this little cool snap that we're having right now,
that could extend it?
It could extend it. It could extend it a little bit. And there's no way to predict what a crab's going to do.
Yeah. Well, I know I can speak for the thousands of diners around the Grand Strand that they hope that the season continues and they could continue to have your soft shell crab, because everybody knows that the soft shell crab that comes from Peter Gerace is top quality. Peter, thanks so much for coming on again.
You.
I really appreciate it. And that's about going to wrap up the show for the week. I had 2 great guests on, 2 experts at what they do. We had David Dorman, owner and operator of Palmetto Farms, which makes some of the finest grits, certainly in the state of South Carolina, and Peter Gerace, who harvests soft-shell crab. And like I said, they're both excellent at what they do. So, folks, go out and pick up a bag of Palmetto Farms grits. They're terrific. And see if you can get some of Peter Gerace's soft-shell crab. And listen, whether you're having Palmetto grits at a fine dining establishment or some of Peter Gerace's soft-shell crab at some swank restaurant, bottom line is this, folks, and don't forget it, you are your family's private chef. Thanks so much for listening.